I think we might have had the microphone muted, so I'm going to start over with this question really quickly. So the first question says, natural rate of unemployment tends to be lower when which of the following is true? And so A says firms pay efficiency wages, B says labor unions are more effective, C says the government sets an effective minimum, and D says unemployment insurance benefits are lower. So the first thing we do when we look at this problem is ask, what is the natural rate of unemployment, right? Because that does not refer to overall unemployment. And so this question is really testing our understanding of the understanding of the subcategories or definitions of unemployment, and also the reasons or rationales for why certain types of unemployment might exist. The first thing we understand is that the natural rate of unemployment refers to the combination of or the addition of both frictional and structural unemployment. And then if we were to add cyclical unemployment into the mix, that would move us from the natural rate of unemployment to actual unemployment. So that's the first thing we have to really understand. The second thing we have to understand then is what exactly are frictional and structural unemployment, right? And so frictional unemployment refers to this idea that people need time to find the best jobs for their skill set and their preferences. In the hypothetical economy where there are 100 workers and 100 jobs available, you would think that maybe there would be zero unemployment because everybody would be unemployed and there's exactly the amount of jobs that are needed. However, that wouldn't be the case because of frictional unemployment. And this is because new firms are always being created and they're hiring new people, and old firms are being destroyed when they have to fire their old employees. And so even when there's exactly enough jobs for everybody who wants one, there's going to be a certain level of unemployment as people are going through that job search process, looking for the right, find the right job for them and find the right fit for their skill set. And that refers to frictional unemployment. And so things that affect frictional unemployment are going to be things that affect the job search process. And then the second component of the natural rate of unemployment is going to be structural unemployment. And so structural unemployment refers to situations in which it's not a question of job search. It's a question of, are there enough jobs in the economy for everybody who wants one? And when the structure of the economy is in such a way in that if 100 people are looking for jobs, maybe there are only 80 jobs available, that's going to lead to unemployment because there are simply not enough jobs going around. And so that is more of a structural issue of the economy rather than like a search process. And so structural unemployment is going to be affected by things that tend to kind of move the labor market out of equilibrium. And so these are, I think, the three things that most courses will talk about are going to be minimum wage laws, strong labor unions, and efficiency wages. And so we can take a look at those as those need to be some of our answer choices. But that's structural unemployment. So hopefully that gives us a good idea of what exactly we're dealing with in this question, right? We're dealing with things that are going to affect frictional unemployment and thereby affect job searching, or things that affect structural unemployment, which affects the equilibrium in the labor market, right? So let's talk about the structural unemployment factor first. We can graph on the right what a simple labor market might look like. So let's take a look here. And so we're gonna if the labor market is what we look like over here, right? We have our supply of labor, we have our demand for labor, and then so if the supply and demand for labor are exactly equal, then there's no structural unemployment, right? There are exactly enough jobs as there are people who are willing to work. And so there's no reason for us to find anything structurally wrong with the economy. When we find there to be structural unemployment is when we find there to be some reason for there to be a shortage in the labor market, right? And that's going to occur when the price is high at P1, right? And so at this level, there's quantity D demanded of labor and quantity S supplied of labor. And we can see that this quantity supplied of this labor is much higher than the quantity demanded for that labor. And so this is going to cause us a shortage, and this kind of difference is going to be what we know is our unemployment. And so the question we ask is, what are reasons in which we might see the price level exceed the equilibrium in which there would be no structural unemployment? And so the first theory that people are going to give us is minimum wage, right? And so if there was a strong minimum wage set above the equilibrium price, what that effectively is a price floor, right? A minimum wage is just a price floor. And so this is a classic example of a situation in which we would see prices being too high compared to equilibrium. And so the stronger minimum wages and the higher minimum wages, the higher our unemployment is going to be. So looking at answer choice C, it says the government sets an effective minimum. And so what that would lead to in terms of our structural unemployment is going to be high unemployment due to the strong price floor, right? And so that's going to actually increase the natural rate of unemployment because it increases structural unemployment. So we know C is not going to be the right answer because we're looking for a reason why the natural rate of unemployment would be lower. The second reason then, after minimum wage, that we're going to discuss commonly in a lot of economics classes is going to be strong unions. And so what unions are when workers band together and collectively advocate for higher wages, better working conditions, etc. And so if you have really, really effective and strong unions, what you're going to see is that those unions are going to be able to negotiate higher than equilibrium wages for their workers. And so higher than equilibrium wages means higher price for labor, and that's going to, again, increase our price of labor above the equilibrium level. And so the stronger and more effective labor unions are, the higher structural unemployment is, and the higher natural rate of unemployment is. So when B says labor unions are more effective, we know that's not going to be answer choice because more effective labor unions, again, are contributing to unemployment, and that's going to raise the natural rate of unemployment. And the final reason we talk about in regards to structural unemployment is efficiency wages, where firms are not required to pay more money to their workers. They just want to because higher wages result in more efficient workers, happier workers, less turnover, and higher skilled labor. And so firms might just decide that it's better for them to pay higher equilibrium level wages. And so looking at answer choice A, firms pay efficiency wages, on the graph we would see the exact same thing. We would still see that price is above equilibrium level contributing to unemployment, and if this is contributing to structural unemployment, we know the natural rate of unemployment is going to be high as well. And so A is not going to be the answer. And so all three reasons, or all three theories for why structural unemployment might exist are going to not be the answer in our question here, because our question is looking for when unemployment is low, and the directional effect of A, B, and C are all to increase unemployment rather than decrease it. And so we know that none of the factors we talk about relating to structural unemployment really kind of are at play here in this question. And so we're going to turn to the other category within natural rate of unemployment, which is frictional unemployment. And what we said before is that frictional rate of unemployment is affected by things that affect the job search process. And so one of those things is unemployment insurance. And so unemployment insurance refers to payouts by the government to individuals who are unemployed while they're looking for a job. And so they might be given as a percentage of your pre-unemployment wages, or it might be given for a certain amount of time, for 6 weeks or 8 weeks. And so what unemployment insurance effectively does is it functions as a safety net, right, for people who lose their jobs. But what it also does is it lowers motivation for people to actually go out and find the right job for them, right? Because even without looking for that job that they might end up having, these people who are receiving unemployment benefits are actually getting paid even though they don't have a job. And so that tends to decrease the incentive to find a job, decrease incentive to go out and search for jobs on job forums and contact recruiters, because the cost of being unemployed is actually a little bit lower due to unemployment insurance. If we were to lower unemployment insurance benefits, as as choice D suggests, what this essentially does is it reduces the safety net for people who are unemployed, but it increases the incentive for these people to go out and find a job, and basically shortens the job search process. Somebody on high unemployment insurance benefits might take 10 weeks to find a job, whereas someone with low unemployment insurance benefits might only take 8 weeks to find a job or 7 weeks to find a job. And so if we shorten the job search process, that's going to decrease frictional unemployment, as less people are going through that process of looking for the right job. And if we decrease frictional unemployment, we're also going to decrease the natural rate of unemployment. So D is going to be the right answer. The natural rate of unemployment tends to be lower when unemployment insurance benefits are lower. Hopefully that all makes sense. I know we talked about that quite in depth. I just think it's good to understand all the things that we're talking about in this question, because unemployment tends to just focus around some of these definitions and some of these root theories. And if we can understand all of those things, you guys will have no trouble with any kind of problem relating to unemployment. Let's take a look at the previous tutor's answer. So the previous tutor also wrote D, unemployment insurance benefits are lower. And they wrote that the natural rate of unemployment is the aggregate of frictional and structural unemployment during a given time frame. That's correct. Indeed, even a healthy economy will have this level of unemployment in light of the fact that laborers are continually going back and forth searching for better occupations, i.e. frictional unemployment, and there always exists some kind of structural unemployment where workers are unable to fill the available positions because of a lack of skill or a geographic barrier. For the most part, the natural rate of unemployment tends to be lower in nations that have less liberal social welfare payments, a more prominent level of work portability, higher worker participation rates, lower minimum wages, more vulnerable worker associations, and progressively adaptable genuine wage rates. So I think it's a good answer. It covers the definitions of frictional and structural unemployment. I think the answer could be a little bit better if it kind of indicated the factors in which, for example, which of these answer choices is associated with which type of unemployment. And we know A through C are associated with structural unemployment, and D is associated with frictional unemployment. So if we can just add that in, that would make this question a lot easier to understand. And so, okay, add in, there are 3 common rationales that are provided for why structural unemployment exists. 1, minimum wages. 2, labor unions. And 3, efficiency wages. Answers A, B, and C are all reasons why structural unemployment would be higher. Therefore, they would increase the natural rate of unemployment rather than decrease them. And we can say unemployment benefits. Unemployment insurance affects the job search process, which is what characterizes frictional unemployment by lowering unemployment insurance benefits. Government increases the incentive for workers to speed up their job search process and thereby decreases both frictional and the natural rate of unemployment. So hopefully that makes a little bit more sense, kind of going along the same line of thought that I explained when we were going through this question, clarifying exactly why each of these reasons might be wrong and why this reason is right. And so that way we can add that into kind of this more general definition of what are frictional and structural unemployment. So the solution is correct, we're just kind of clarifying some of the answers.